There are lots of different beliefs about sewing that are just simply not true. Some people believe sewing is a certain way, or it has to be this way, or it used to be that way, and it's not at all. What are you talking about? Well, not at all. So I'm going to talk about some of them, and if you happen to think about some others, leave them down in the comments, because it's really fun to see all the comments about different topics. And if you like this kind of content, consider subscribing, because I upload twice a week, and that way you don't miss anything. And I'll leave you here my Instagram account in case you want to have a look. Sewing is expensive. It doesn't have to be. It's true that you need a sewing machine to start with, but you can also sew by hand if you wanted to. But it doesn't have to be the most expensive sewing machine in the market. You can have a second-hand one, or you can have the cheapest one from a brand. Mine is a simple one, and I've been sewing just fine with it for all these years. It's true that from time to time I have problems with stretchy fabrics, because it skips stitches sometimes, but I'm sewing just fine. And the same with fabrics. You don't need to get the most expensive Liberty fabrics you see in the shops. You can have remnants, you can have cheaper fabrics to learn with and to make scraps of, to make little projects. So it doesn't have to be expensive. No pattern, no paradise. This is such a lie. It's true that patterns help you a lot. They have everything you need: where to put your darts, where to place your pockets, your buttonholes, everything is in there, and the instructions to do it. But you can recreate stuff you already have. You can clone your clothes from clothes you know fit well, or you can even take your own measurements and make your own block, and from that work with your imagination and do different patterns and create different styles. And you know, I do that all the time. I love pattern magazines. I love looking at them. I think you get loads of ideas from them, and I love the patterns. They are amazing. But it's true that I prefer making my own. You should have a try. It won't look as nice as one from the shop. It will, of course it will, if you pay attention to little details, how straight your seams are, if your hem looks the same, if it's level, if you have paid attention to your zippers, or your darts, for example, or your facings. All of these are really important, and they add value to the garment, if we're talking about clothing, for example. So if you follow the steps, if you take care of what you're doing, it will look as nice or even nicer than the one from a shop. And of course, if you're matching patterns as well, all of these add a lot of value. So don't think that just because you're making it yourself, it isn't as worthy as one you get in the shops. Sewing is not for all the age groups. This is just ridiculous. There's nothing that tells you that sewing needs to be for older people or for an age group in particular. In fact, there's some children in TikTok sewing, and they do it really well. So I don't think, I don't understand why this is still such a belief that sewing is just for an older generation. It's not at all, and it's nothing to do with it. So just stop being just silly about things and get to your sewing. Sewing at home is just for mending. This is so silly, it's ridiculous, even though I'm mending something myself right now. It's so useful to mend your own stuff, and having a sewing machine only for mending at home is just really useful. But it's much more than that. You can add value to your home by decorating, by making cushions or patchwork, or maybe upcycling clothes you don't use anymore. You can make a pair with shorts from jeans you have that you don't use, or you can make a dress from a scarf you have around. So it's much more than just mending, even though mending it's really useful. And then there's many people that think that sewing is just a waste of time. It's never a waste of time. A hobby is not a waste of time when it makes you feel better about yourself, it makes your self-esteem grow, and it makes you feel good and confident. And if you're making stuff from scratch, if you're making your life better, even with cushions or making, shortening a hem, something like that, if it makes your life easier and the life of the people you have around yourself easier, it's never a waste of time. So stop thinking that. Sewing is way too difficult and it can't be done. This is such a common belief. It's true that sewing has different steps, different levels, and you have to learn little by little. It's a whole job, it's a whole career, so you have to go step by step. If you, for example, like furnishing and you think that just because you like painting furniture, you're going to just take any kind of paint and paint any kind of furniture, good luck, because it's a whole world, because it's a whole job, it's a whole profession. So it takes time to do it properly and to learn little by little, but it's not just difficult as a way of it difficult and that's it. There's books you can help yourself with, and it's really enjoyable. And then on the other end of the spectrum, there's people that tell you, oh, that's easy, you can sew, that's easy, you can do it in 2 minutes. Yeah? So extreme. Sewing is just for creative people. This is not entirely true. It's true that it's a form of art that is going to call for creative people, but it doesn't mean that you can't sew if you're not creative. There's lots of patterns you can follow, there's lots of different tutorials that you can recreate, and you can make things copying things that people have done from tutorials, and you can sew without being the most creative person ever. So you can do it, you can create stuff at home, even though you're not Picasso or you're not Christian Dior. It doesn't have to be that way. Sewing is slow.
Sewing is slow.
No, it doesn't have to be. Of course, there are things that take more time, there are more detailed seams, but I've been able to sew myself a dress in a morning, in a few hours. So it doesn't have to be slow just by the sake of being slow. It's not that way. It depends on the project, it takes more time or less time, but it's not slow just for the sake of it. It's not. Sewing is something from the past. I completely disagree with this. I think it's something modern, it's something completely up to date. Years ago, people used to sew because there weren't any shops, but nowadays there are shops that are looking for creative people who can sew, and people who sew are making different stuff. It's not something you have to do, it's something you enjoy doing. So people are surrounding themselves with things they do for just because they love it. It's a passion, and it doesn't have to be an older thing that older people used to do. It's something up to date, it's something that different ages are doing, and it's something that is not attached to gender either. So it's just completely modernized. So just don't think that. That's silly. For all of us who sew, sewing is just amazing. It makes you feel good. We're always thinking about sewing something or how a different seam can be done, or when you see something, you always think, I might do that myself. I think I'm capable of doing that. So don't let all these intrusive thoughts make yourself feel small. All this sewing is not for everyone. Sewing is just for other people. It won't look the same as it does in the shop. It doesn't look as easy and things like that. It doesn't make you feel good and it doesn't make you feel confident about your sewing. So forget about all of that and let your sewing begin. And if you like this kind of video, don't forget to subscribe, because I upload twice a week. And I leave you here a link to all the talking videos about sewing, because we sew, but we also have fun as well. Bye. Venga, hombre, coser es lo más.